Well, Anime Addicts, we asked for it, and you answered the call. The waifu cry for help went high into the sky, and you hopeless anime waifu lovers came to the rescue. The 2023 waifu war is on, and the bracket will be up probably starting Thursday, May 18th. So, go to waifubracket.life to create your bracket. Listen, we all love March Madness. It's a lot of fun. You try to predict the winners of every match. And there will be a cash prize. So we will be holding a bracket challenge contest for our waifu war, and you will be able to go to waifubracket.life. That's WAIFU bracket.life to create your bracket, enter the contest, win a cash prize. Thank you for your contributions. Your waifus, thank you. Again, if you want to make a bracket, that's waifubracket.life. And now, time to start the show.
Get ready! You're about to listen to the Anime Addicts Anonymous Podcast. Make your anime addiction worse at AAApodcast.com. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Welcome to the 677th episode of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. And also, happy Mother's Day to all of our motherly weebs out there. If you are a mother figure, thank you for your motheriness. And here today, maybe I should introduce myself. I'm Caroline. Hi.
Hi.
And we also have, there's Mitsugi. Hi, Mitsugi.
Mitsugi here, not a mother, but I have a mother.
Kind of motherly.
Yeah,
Am
I?
I?
A little bit of a mother effer, if you will.
Oh,
I'm
damn.
Got him.
Damn, got him. Something came in the mail today.
And we also have Mason. Are you a mother?
No, I would say I'm pretty far away from a mother, but
Did you
that's
guys
good.
call
That's
your
good.
mothers?
I did call my mommy this morning, and we had a lovely talk.
That's
and
cute.
discussion.
Yeah, just a reminder. And if
Mommy
you're listening
Mason.
to this when it comes out and you did not call your mother or your mother figures, then you failed. And then, of course,
You
know,
are a
if you
failure.
have a mother, then, we feel for you. So,
Listen,
about that.
honestly, the truth of the matter is that if you didn't call your mom, well, she probably just doesn't love you anymore. So,
Eek.
ouch. So you better get... And also... That's right. Gandalf says so.
Well, thank you for joining us for this wonderful episode on a wonderful day. It's beautiful outside. Mitsugi, is it still raining in Denver?
Yes, it is, actually. Denver gets 14 inches of rain a year on average, which is like desert levels. But we had about 8 inches of rain since last Thursday, which is a total of about 4 or 5 days. So we've had half our rain in the same span of one weekend. Very great. And the city is
in
falling
the
apart.
Northeast, I think Mason can attest. It is beautiful here. Beautiful weather, nice and sunny.
Yeah, scenic. But we're gonna get that rain eventually, so sad.
No, we won't. It's a lot.
We had a tornado.
Wow, that's awesome. No, actually, no.
Well, we did have a tornado siren go off in our corporate building. That was interesting. To which I was like, I'm busy. Go fuck yourself. Let it take
Betsy
me.
is in the chat today. Hi,
Yes,
Betsy.
my mom's in the chat. Happy Mother's Day.
Your mommy.
Yes, indeed.
Well, let's talk about what this podcast has to offer. We are live on Twitch every Sunday at 5 p.m. EDT. You can join us. And we are also on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Go to AAAdiscord.com to join up. We have a lot of fun stuff going on there. So please join us.
Yes, please use the domains, because I'm learning now that they are heinously expensive to renew. So I was not prepared, for the $500 a year that it's going to cost to keep these domains open.
You are excited for every single time we set up a new domain, and it's biting you in the ass.
Well,
right
that's
now.
because they're like, buy a domain, 2 years, $10. I'm like, okay, great. So I signed up for the first year for 1 year because, I didn't know that we didn't. Some of these domains, I didn't think we would use them for more than a year, and now it's like renew for a year, like $55. I'm like, I called the guy. I'm like, your literal only chance to ever sell waifubracket.life to anyone is me. It's like I let this expire. You will not sell this to anybody else in 1,000 years. So why don't we cut to the chase and see what the real prices are? Because I'm not paying $50 to have the waifubracket.life renewed. And he's like, well, we can't negotiate because we don't really set the price.
Can you just buy new domains?
Yeah, I was like, well, fine. I'll just cancel it and get another waifu bracket domain that is like
equally silly,
equally useless.
Karen on.
Anyway.
Speaking of domain names, you can go to supporttheaddicts.com to take advantage of our Amazon affiliates page where we get a little donation every single time you buy something from Amazon if you go to that link. So
boy, it
keep
does
that in mind.
It matters a lot. It adds up quick.
Something that does not add up quick, apparently, is our profits from the AAA shop.info, but we still have merch up there. You can check it out. Maybe get yourself a waifu t-shirt in honor of our waifu war or husbando t-shirt.
That's right.
And we also have the Church of Mitsugi Acolyte t-shirts, which are my personal favorite because I made them. We still have listener choice going on. Mitsugi, speak to this.
Listener choice. You can go to voteanime.life and vote for our listener choice. The listener choice, there will be 3 anime selected from the current season, I should say, which is spring. And the first 2 of the anime are already pretty much set in stone. They're so far in front, nobody will ever catch them. But there are 6 or 7 anime that are vying for 3rd place. I wouldn't say it's entirely finished up yet here. So if you want to vote for your favorite anime of the spring, go to voteanime.life, and you will be able to vote for whatever anime you want us to review from the spring season.
It'll probably be closed by next Sunday, right?
Yeah, it'll be closed by next Sunday. So.
All right, and you can go ahead and vote while you still can.
Yeah, that's right.
So, the waifu war.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we at with the feasibility of this war?
The ultimatum from last week.
Yes.
Well, so the ultimatum didn't do jack shit because after the episode went out, literally none of you voted. So the people listening are just a big fail. Sorry.
So mean.
Calling a spade a spade. And they know they're not voting. They're not. I'm like, yep, didn't do shit. But then I went and I put it on the Discord for the 3rd time, and like an avalanche of additional votes comes every time I post it on the Discord. That's really the only way to get movement. The Discord, which passed 2,600 people recently, which is pretty good. So the waifu war actually has more nominations than last time. We're still not at the stretch goal I was kind of hoping for, but that's kind of irrelevant. So again, there will be a bracket. There will be a bracket. There will be a bracket. You can go to waifu bracket, waifubracket.life to create your bracket and to enter the contest. And that bracket will be up most likely on Thursday, May 18th.
I can't wait to see who made the cut. It's going to be great. Were you joking when you were saying how low the submissions were?
No, I was dead serious.
I'm surprised that it actually caught up to your expectations.
Well, and I hope it didn't catch up because everybody was just like going around their business and like getting people to like log in and because we want people that are going to come back and vote and shit too and make this a real contest. So, if we get like 1,000 people submitting nominations and then only like 115 people have come back to vote, that's going to be lame as shit. So I really hope that's not the case. But for now, there will be a waifu war. And I'm fucking pumped.
Since the voting was done through email addresses, can we send out like an update through? Is there an easy way to do that to like everyone that participated in the voting to say the brackets are now open and maybe do it through there?
I don't know.
I think it's something we should look into.
Okay.
But thank you to everyone who participated in putting the waifu war bracket together. And this is going to be really fun. So if you solicited people in your personal life to get nominations for it, please do it again throughout the entirety of this tournament. That would be great. So let's talk about the episode for today.
Yeah.
That was a lot to get through.
Mm-hmm.
Our main topic for today is best anime showcases. This is another suggestion from Lady Emery because she has a tendency to come up with good ideas. Now, just to say what that's basically about, we're talking about what anime has showcased a certain thing to the best of its ability, like, best sports and that kind of thing. So we'll talk about that. We have Unexplored Pictures today and a review of Tomo-chan is a Girl. So with that being said, let's get to our big news of the week.
大ニュースです。It's time for big news of the week.
So I'm actually ahead on watching anime right now. It's like miraculous.
Wow.
I'm actually like more than a week ahead. So, it's doesn't happen often.
I'm
but
barely
I was
up to date every single time, so that's a great accomplishment.
But I busted open some of my Slazer beam the other night, and I was laying in bed, and I'm like, a little Slazer beam going on, and watching some animes, and I noticed that the Verve app was gone off my Roku TV. I was like, where'd it go? Where's my Verve app? Which is, by the way, Verve was a putrid app. It had to have been the worst. Arguably the worst, even worse than the High Dive app, probably. But Verve is gone. So if you were a user of Verve and you're wondering where it went, the answer is it was absorbed into Crunchyroll. On March 1st, 2022, it was first announced that Verve would be merged into Crunchyroll itself alongside with Funimation. And the app ceased operations officially on May 8th, 2023. So for years, Crunchyroll had run Verve as an alternative to its main platform for fans who wanted stuff outside of anime, like Rooster Teeth and whatever. And I guess the take was that stuff wasn't doing very well on their service. So they specifically call it out like Geek and Sundry, Cartoon Hangover, Rooster Teeth, Nerdist. I've never heard of some of this stuff, but apparently it wasn't doing
any of this stuff.
Well, apparently nobody cares because it just wasn't doing well, and they really saw no reason to keep this stuff open. So people were just here for anime. So once Crunchyroll bought Funimation and started to fold that content into their own platform, then they began to shift away from that and looking at Verve also. And so after months and months of hints that it was going to happen, Crunchyroll has become like this monster that now has all this content in it. So they just absorb 3 to 4 other streaming services inside Crunchyroll. So Crunchyroll's I think it's $10. I don't know. Most people have Crunchyroll. So, I mean, I don't know. You're going to have to go sign up for Crunchyroll. I assume the Verve, I'm making an assumption that my Verve subscription was severed when they did this. So I just went ahead and signed up for Crunchyroll. So it's a done deal. Very sad to see it go.
I never understood Verve. I couldn't really understand what it was, like a conglomeration of streaming apps and how membership works in comparison to signing up for memberships at other streaming apps that it took care of. So I don't know.
Well, I can tell you that the Crunchyroll app is definitely better than the Verve app. So it's kind of it's a nice forced upgrade sort of. I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to deal with the hassle of having to sign up or whatever. But man, the Verve app sucked. The Verve was the app where you would have ReZero in 15 dubbed languages, and it would just say ReZero, and then in brackets it would have dubbed, hyphen, and then it wouldn't tell you what fucking language it was. So if you're looking for English, you had to click through 19 different lists, and you're getting it in French, Mandarin, you're getting it in every language, and then finally you find English, and you're like, thank God I found English. But it's just so cumbersome to use. So anyway, now this conversation is becoming cumbersome because I don't think there's much more to say, but it is over. So Verve is now gone. What do you got, Caroline?
Well, people who use AniList probably are not aware, but my anime list, it's typically made fun of younger sister, reportedly got hacked.
Womp womp.
So somebody hacked it on May 10th. Causing the site to shut down for maintenance. And after about 2 days, it was back up and running with no data breach of the user's personal information, so don't worry too much about that. But you may wonder, why would somebody put in the effort to hack an anime tracking site?
Credit cards.
Well, they changed all the users' numerical ratings of Serial Experiments Lane to 8s, 9s, and 10s.
Nuh-uh.
And replaced all anime series titles with the phrase, "Let's all love Lane," quote unquote.
What?
So yeah, the hacker is a major nerd. like
It's amazing.
of
I
the
love it.
nth degree. Like, what a loser.
Is that why Lane has an 8.08 now? Or was that
I
what
mean, no, okay.
No,
they
I
fix
think
it?
it's probably
So the
always pretty
site
high.
has now been restored, like, to its last backup taken before the attack on May 9th. So
Oh my God.
the last backup was taken May 9th at 9:43 p.m. PDT. So if you made any actions on the site between that time and the start of the emergency maintenance, which was about 8.5 hours, you will have to make them again if you so wish to do so. So everything should be back to how it was before, but there was a solid amount of time where Lane was probably the highest rated show. I mean, I'm guessing because everybody's new, like, ratings went up to like
Jesus.
the top numbers, and let's
just-
all love Lane. Somebody put in the time to do this absolutely boneheaded thing for hardly any reason.
It's fantastic,
Oh,
though.
God.
It's like, so fitting with the themes and message and just aesthetics of a really good show in Serial Experiments Lane. I forgive them. I love it. I love that this happened.
I just want to say, ha, nerd. You're a
I mean,
nerd.
true. But
Okay, that's all I
also,
have.
You can just
at least you picked a good show.
you can just hear the court trial because it's like they didn't want the credit cards or anything like that. They just wanted to
I mean,
boost
I don't know.
Lane.
Does Mal have anything that you have need to have a credit card for?
You can buy shit on here, so yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe they may not store the credit cards, but I can just hear it now. Are you or are you not a nerd?
Oh, I would so watch that Law and Order episode. That would be awesome.
Oh, damn! That
You
played twice.
need to make the true crime documentary, Caroline, of this attack.
I mean, I would be up for being part of the production team.
Order. Answer the question: are you or are you not a nerd?
Is this where we switch?
Answer the question, or I will hold you in contempt.
Could we like switch lanes as a podcast and become a weeb investigative podcast?
What?
Was that
Like,
a
no, there are
intentional?
true crime podcasts.
Fun.
Could we do a true crime podcast solely on anime shit?
No. What? You know it's more work.
Like
Come on.
stuff within anime or
Girl, you cray.
stuff that happened in the anime industry.
All I know,
Oh.
all I know about Lane is that Ganeon Entertainment was the U.S. licensor, and I'm so nostalgic about Ganeon because they did like all the shit I loved when I was younger. You know, Bubblegum Crisis, Hellsing, Ippo, Paranoia Agent, Gonkutsuo, Technolize, Hibernate Renmei. Like all these shows are so fucking great, and I don't think Ganeon exists anymore. So
I watched Lane maybe a year ago, and I cannot remember one single thing about it.
Oh, and let us not
sad.
forget about the masterpiece that is Iki Tosen,
Let's
aka
just-
Panty Shots the animation.
You know, we're calling this guy a nerd, and
Yeah.
to be fair, it's true. But we're up here putting in hours of content every week for 600 episodes. Just be like, guys, you should watch Golden Boy. You guys should really watch Erased. You guys should really watch Tommy Galaxy. Like nerds. And this guy was like, how about I just hijack everyone's computer and make them realize how great Lane is? So, like, he's just way more efficient if you're really adding up the numbers. So yeah, a nerd.
I don't agree.
But I think we're a little
What we
bit
do
worse.
is pretty nerdy, but we have nerd for a cause. This cause was dumb.
The other funny thing is that it probably took this guy less time to to do all of this on the My Anime List website than it does for us to do one podcast.
Oh, easily. The
He's
Mal
probably-
site sucks. So-
He's probably like,
So
they're probably laughing their asses off like how bad the security is on the Mao website. They just like break through in 10 seconds.
is this where we have another call for people to go to AniList? Even though I
I
am
ain't going to
solely
fucking
a
AniList.
Mal person. 'cause
I'm not going to.
I don't have the patience to switch anime sites. I just don't.
Unless you can
10 minutes.
listen, unless you can import your
Could do
data
that,
or
but
something.
You can.
It's
Oh,
the
wow.
it's the setup. Like it's a different layout. I don't have
It
time.
doesn't matter.
And I don't have patience.
Both
for that.
sites suck. Let's move
Change
on.
is hard. Mason,
Speaking of change, we're going back to the well. The Los Angeles Chargers media team does it again. You may remember back in 2022, they announced their upcoming football schedule. This is like American football for international listeners, with a anime-inspired announcement video that kind of said, "Oh, here's the teams we're going to be playing," but with an anime presentation. Well, they did it again for 2023, and it's better than ever. It's so awesome. It's not the most stunning animation you'll ever see, but it is full. Every single frame has a bunch of anime references in it, from One Punch Man, Kaiji, Dragon Ball, Naruto, Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer. I could go on and on. It was really done with a lot of love and attention, and the way they mixed the lore and kind of talking points of the football landscape with anime fandom is really integrated well and is definitely worth checking out. So it's really fun to watch and see if you can spot all the references. So it's cool that it came back and that it is neat. I like it. That's all I got.
Anime is just becoming so big. I'm not even like nervous about recommending anime to people in my office now. You know, I got a guy who ended up being a giant anime nerd and just didn't want to tell anybody. And then the minute I found out he was a super nerd, I was like, I know the kind of shit you like. I know you like this weird, like, old stuff like me. And I'm like, you know what you would love is Iria. And so he like watched 2 episodes. He got drunk one night and watched 2 episodes of Iria and was texting me. And he's like, bro, this anime is fucking dope. And I was like, yeah, there aren't too many anime like Iria. And yeah, it's so big now. It's just like there's really no concern at all.
I went to the air show yesterday. There was people wearing Trigun shirts. Someone had a sunscreen, the thing you put in the windshield of your car to block the sun coming in, of like My Hero Academia stuff. There was a yellow sports car with Pikachu on the license plate. It was awesome. Like, it's just popping up over and over, and it's neat to see. So, cool. We're all nerds. That's the lesson of the day.
Yeah. But not as much as that one guy.
No,
Okay.
I guess not.
Let's get into our main topic for today, best anime showcases. So basically, as I mentioned, the idea is like, what anime is best at showcasing blank?
What is best in life?
And since it is Mother's Day, I don't know what reference you're making.
Hearing the lamentation of their mothers.
To crush your enemies. To crush your mother.
First up on the list, what anime is best at showcasing motherhood?
Speaking of
Mitsugi,
which,
what do you have?
I watched Kindergarten Cop yesterday.
It's not a tumor.
It's not a tumor. It's not. Have you seen Kindergarten Cop, Caroline?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, come on. So it's this movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's just jacked as fuck in this movie because it's like an old movie. It's from like 1990. Becomes a kindergarten teacher. It's a really good movie. It's very cute, and I'm continuing Pancake's movie education, and we're trying to get through all the like really good Schwarzenegger movies, and there's quite a lot of them actually. So he's definitely got probably close to 10 movies that are worth watching. So, Motherhood, Clannad After Story. This is the most depressing anime probably ever, but also features motherhood very prominently, and also fatherhood too. And it's just a very family-focused TV show, and even though it's also depressing, really depressing, I don't know why it's so fucking depressing. What is it? Key Visual Arts, whatever the fucking group is that writes these, they just love to write these super sad, just like over melodramatic, just painful to watch shit. Like Air was just depressing as fuck. Canon was a little bit depressing. Both the Clanauds, it's just like crazy. But yeah, Clannad After Story is a really fucking good anime, by the way. I mean, yeah, you should definitely. That's. Boy, I wonder what that has on Mal, but I bet it's like in the top 20. Clannad After Story has an 8 point. Yeah, it's got an 8.93 and it's ranked 19th. So that's pretty fucking good. Okay, that's mine. What you got? What you got?
I put down Wolf Children. So if you are not familiar with this movie, it is about a woman who meets a man in college. They fall in love, and whoops, he's actually a wolf.
You and me, baby.
So that's a little weird.
Well, he's a shape-shifting wolf. He's not just a wolf the whole time.
No, okay.
That's kinky.
It's like, it's kind of like a werewolf, but yeah, he can just shape shift into being a wolf.
She's like,
so yeah, they get serious, and she has kids with him. So she has 2 children, a boy and a girl. The girl's the older child. And soon after the boy was born, her husband, the wolf, died, which is very upsetting. Like, you don't spend a lot of time with him, but, you know, they had such a sweet seeming relationship that's very sad. Now you have a woman who is, you know, on her own, having to raise two kids that are not only, like, that's not the only situation. They're also wolves themselves, like, yeah, like their dad was. So they're shape-shifting in and out of child and wolf form, causing so much stress. She needs to find a job. She needs to find a house. She needs to protect her children. It's just, you know, motherhood, the anime, I feel like, even if it is sort of fantastical. And by the end, you're kind of feeling like it's not a bad ending, and I'm not going to spoil the ending, but you still feel like the sense of melancholy, like the things that you have to give up and sacrifice for your children. And I feel like it's very well represented in this movie, and it's a very good one, so I recommend it.
The mom, whose name is Hana, by the way, and the father, whose name is Okami, which just means wolf.
Wait, his name is that his actual name, or is that just
according to Mao, which got hacked, so it could be.
I think he just has. He's never named explicitly.
He's nameless.
She's like,
and just called Wolf.
They're like, you know, they're in like the bedroom late at night.
Caroline's already
and
bracing
like,
for impact.
I've already established.
Hannah's like,
don't need to paint the picture.
Hannah's like, oh, Kami, do you think you could, you know, when we get to that special moment, could you just transform halfway? It gets extra kinky. She's like, I want the tail, but not the claws, and I want the sharp teeth, but not all the back hair.
Pitsuki, can you not? This is supposed to be.
It's just, you know, it's just a little.
Be a wholesome topic.
Come on, we all know that there's nothing wrong with a little. Yoof.
Oh God. Mason, please.
Caroline. From that emotionally.
Like, I didn't need it to have bestiality. You know,
but now that we're here,
it's not bestiality. He's a human. It's only half bestiality. Your facial expression is why people should watch the Twitch. Oh, Pancake just gave me the same look that you gave me.
Thank God.
I am now outnumbered.
Thank God that she's back home, because I'm hoping this will cool you down a little bit. You've been a little too much lately.
Jeez.
I'm surprised you don't have a hotline to Pancake's cell phone, Caroline, to call in reinforcements. And
like,
cut
him off. Doing it again.
Okay.
So I think it's important to support Caroline's point. These are realistic, you know, showcases of something such as motherhood, but it doesn't necessarily need to be in a realistic situation. And I absolutely agree with Caroline. I think Wolf Children is probably one of the best examples of motherhood in anime. I found it interesting that so often we get the fatherhood side of things with like Buddy Daddy, Sweetness and Lightning, Poco's Udon World, Smiley and the Forest Spirit, Takushigoto. It's very much dad alone with kids or something. And really thinking back, we don't get...
people assume that like mom alone with the kids is very normal and
it's
not
exactly. It's typical, and it's kind of like, oh, we don't get more of that, even though I think we kind of should. But since Wolf Children was taken, I went with Makia When the Promised Flower Blooms, another movie. I don't like it as much as Wolf Children. It's one of those, you know, Mario Okada's super dramatic ones, but it is good when it comes to themes of, you know, being a mother, adopts a kid and just has to go through the cycle of loss and love and everything that goes with that. So it's a pretty good movie when it comes to what it's like being a mom, even though a little fantastical at times. So second place recommendation.
And then you also get like a little bit of weird, and not incestual, but sort of aspects, just a little bit.
Yeah, a little fantasy, you know, people who can live a real long time, and it doesn't matter. Ignore it. Motherhood, it's pretty well. Watch Wolf Children is what we're trying to say. Next up, we have Living in Japan. What anime best represents what it's like to actually live in Japan? Obviously, Mitsugi is the only one of us who has lived there for any sustained period of time, but I think we can still give some recommendations. You want to start, Caroline?
Sure. So, I mean, you guys had already put in your suggestions when I looked at the list, but even so, the suggestions you put down were ones that I've never seen before. What I was trying to say is that like a lot of my choices were kind of second choices. In this case, it was more of like, oh, I don't know what to put down that best represents this topic in its entirety. But then I thought, what about what best represents living in Japan in a certain time period? Because I love my historical stuff. So I have another movie for this subsection, and it's in this corner of the world, which I think really well represents living in Japan in the World War II era. Now, I obviously cannot tell you out of my own experience that if that is the case or not, but it's a very down-to-earth story involving like a girl, her growing up in a countryside area of Japan, you know, what was pretty normal back then, where, you know, you kind of have a very not, you know, falling in love and getting married situation. It's more of like, you know, who can support you and who is like going to, you know, propose to you just because, you know, of service level reasons. So she does end up getting married. She has this relationship with someone that she didn't really know before, living with his family away from her own family. And then, of course, there's the repercussions of World War II in Japan. And it gets really sad about it, especially towards the end. And I think anybody that knows anything about World War II in Japan kind of knows what I'm inching towards. So if you are up for slower stories, more slice of life than anything, with historical being a good point of it, I highly recommend this movie. It is very good, and even if it is a little bit slow, it's very interesting too. So I recommend. I think there's a longer version. I think there's a regular version, and then there's the longer version.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've seen both. I can't remember clearly, but either one should be good. But I suppose go for the shorter version if you're not certain.
I watched that movie on my first flight to Japan.
Oh boy.
Yeah, very interesting.
I actually know a ton about World War II in Japan. Did you know that before the United States, it's not really a touchy subject, just history. When the United States was deciding which cities in Japan they wanted to bomb with atomic bombs, they actually had Tokyo at the top of the list, but it's very grim, but they actually decided that Tokyo was not a good candidate because the buildings were so close together, and because they were all made out of wood, that as many of you know, they actually knew that they could actually destroy the entire city just by dropping napalm on it, rather than having to use the atomic bomb. So they dropped the atomic bomb on other major cities that were important to their war effort, but actually just wiped out Tokyo with the napalm because it just burned everything down, which is very grim and brutal, and you can see. Oh, man, I haven't seen Barefoot Gen, but it probably is pretty vivid about that too, but Grave of the Fireflies does an overly exceptional job of showing the firebombing of Tokyo during World War II. Ooh, it's vicious and just strategically genius by the United States, but the outcome was just brutal from a humanitarian perspective, of course, but then again, that's a long conversation because Japan wasn't exactly a very good Samaritan during World War II. My pick is My Neighbor the Yamadas. I love this movie. I think it's one of the most undersold and underrepresented Ghibli films. It's probably like the bottom three, honestly. Like people just won't watch it, don't care, can't be convinced, but mostly because of the animation style. But this is literally like a 2-hour movie of life in Japan with a typical Japanese family doing typical Japanese family shit, and it's fucking funny as hell and totally down to earth, and a lot of it takes place like in their living room with their grandma and the dad and the mom and the kid. It's an unbelievably great movie, and Takahata just has had a certain way of just capturing life in movies that wasn't done in a fantasy way, but he just had so much insight and so much vision into like how to show what life is all about. And this movie is, man, it has the opening 10 minutes of this movie. I used to show it at Anime Con panels because it was like best anime you've never seen or heard of, and because the first 10 minutes of this movie is literally just phenomenal. Like the wedding speech by the grandmother is just, God, it's
as they're going down the cake in the like bobsled.
God,
I would argue the first 5 minutes are a masterclass, probably some of the
Yep.
best part of any Ghibli
Yep.
movie ever.
Yep.
And it's a bit of a slog for some people. I get it. So I recommend people start the movie, enjoy the beginning, and just hold on for as long as it interests you. If it's the whole way, great. If you fall off, it's not like a great through line story that's going to keep you entertained. So just
Yeah.
see how it strikes you and just give it a chance. Don't sign up for a 2 hour movie because then you're going to be like, oh, I don't have time and never watch it. Start it and go from there.
And I love the Yamada's theme song. It's so special. Anyway, we're going pretty long, so I'm just going to let Mason take it.
Yeah, my last one for living in Japan is Usagi Drop, which also could kind of fit themes of fatherhood, obviously, where it tells us tale of this guy who kind of adopts his family's relative young kid, which is great. It's a great anime for a lot of reasons, but the number one thing for living in Japan is just you see them inside their house, running errands to the grocery store, him at his job, commuting on the train. It just really captures the day in and day out life in that slice of life style, but with a different kind of found family twist on things that just make it really entertaining all the way through. It's comfy, it's relaxing, but it's endearing and entertaining at the same time. So, Bunny Drop, I don't want to hear any memes about it. It's a fantastic anime, and I highly recommend you watching it. And Rec would be my second place one if you want more of like a early 90s life in Japan, but that's a very different mood. So, Usagi Drop is my pick.
Man, I'm drinking some phenomenal coffee right now. I'm telling you right now. The
It's
beans,
coffee that Pancake made for you, isn't it?
yeah, with the beans that she brought back from Iowa. I have to like our coffee grinder. I have a coffee grinder, and like the beans will get stuck sometimes. So I kind of stick my hand down at it and just kind of massage the beans to make sure that they go down. And I have to like wipe my hands off when I'm done because the beans are so fresh. They're still covered in all that oil. Oh, it's so good. The best coffee will have oil on top of it.
How about the best sports?
Gura Zeni. Another undersold anime that everybody hates except me. What does this have on my anime list? Like a 5? It's just an embarrassment that this anime has a 5. It just makes me so sad for people. The people just don't get it. It's up to a 6.4, so that's not as terrible, but like it's still really bad. I mean, I just don't get it. Like people just must just when you take all of the fantasy and shonen elements out of sports, people have absolutely no interest whatsoever in it. If it's not like a Kuroko no Basuke with superpowers or like Major where it's intensely shonen, you take those things out and people just don't give a shit. And I just don't get it because Good as Any gives you the most detailed look into the background of sports that I think you're going to get in any anime, period. End of story. It goes into contract negotiations with players, like keeping statistics. It goes into like the player mentality, you know, like the lifespan of an athlete. Like it just goes into all these nitty gritty, like Moneyball type nuances that exist in baseball that you're not going to get from something like Big Wind-Up, even though Big Wind-Up's great. Honestly, it's fantastic. Or Major or any of these others. Good as Any is an anime that only I seem to like. And, but boy, it really gives you like a serious adult sports lover look into the just what sports is. And, you know, I don't know if either of you have seen this, but I really love Good as Any. I think it's great. And I think the second
I have seen both seasons.
And?
It's fine. I love that, like you said, the Moneyball look of the behind the scenes, seeing how the mechanics of the team and, you know, our main character vies for playing time and negotiates. I love all of that. It's just not, in my mind, an engaging story all the way through.
How about you? What did you pick?
I have not seen enough sports anime to make an opinion on this. Because I've seen sports anime, but not that I can say, like, this is the best representation of sports, of real sports. So I didn't put anything down. So, Mason.
Yeah, so my first pick was originally going to be Run with the Wind, which tells a pretty solid story about a college running team. Because, you know, they practice running, and then they run in a race, and they talk about running, and I'm like, okay, that's true. But it seemed like too easy, because it's just running. Not to say it can't be more than that, but I wanted to pick something different. So I went with another show that people don't love a lot, but it is pretty good, which is Bakuten, aka Backflip, which also has a movie coming out shortly on streaming stuff. But it just tells a really grounded look of this men's like rhythm gymnastic team as they, you know, learn all the moves and flips and work You got the people who are experts and know all the moves. You got the newbies who join the club and need to work their way to doing back handsprings and all the stuff that is engaged. And you see how the team forms, how they do the choreography, and it's just really smartly done. And it just is, I don't know, just a very earnest representation, very grounded and realistic. And I think I'm trying to remember who Yuki Hayashi, the guy who did the music, who makes fantastic stuff. He got his start composing music for rhythm gymnastics, and he like designed the score for that. So it just was done a little CG, but it was done with a lot of love and heart and just intricate detail to the sport, and that's about as good as you can get. So backflip is pretty cool, and I like it.
Lovely. I love it.
Indeed.
For me,
Yeah, go ahead.
being an adult is the next category. And for me, I picked another Takahata movie. Only Yesterday is another movie that's very underappreciated, honestly. Takahata just doesn't get the same respect that Miyazaki gets. But Only Yesterday is really a thoughtful piece on being an adult. It's about this woman who was working in Tokyo, and she goes back to like the countryside to, I think, write a piece for like a newspaper about something about the countryside, and she just like, it's where she grew up, as I recall, and she just starts to relive all these memories of childhood, and it's really how a lot of adults, I don't think I'm quite old enough yet for this, but a lot of adults when they're in like, 50s or so, like I feel like there's a lot of reflection that's going to happen on like your life and the things that like brought you to the place that you currently are. And this anime is about that. It's about this girl who's like, well, we'll say she's about 30, and she's just like reliving all of these important moments from her childhood and just reflecting on like what life is and what's important to her and what it is to be an adult and your role in the world and in society. And it's just really good, honestly. It's not one of my favorite Ghibli movies, but it is one of the more cerebral Ghibli movies, and as Takahata often does, really just finds a way to capture something that's meaningful in so many people's lives and brings them to anime. Only Yesterday is not a very fun movie to watch, but it is an emotional movie that is relatable, and it certainly has a lot to do with being an adult.
Yeah, I was thinking about this one too, and I saw you already put it down. And same thing with Mason's choice, which I'll let him talk about.
Oh no, you can take this one.
Oh, okay.
It's
So,
it was too hard not to pick this one.
yeah, so we both thought of Agretzko. So, Agretzko is about, if you don't know, is about anthropomorphic animals in the workplace. And it follows Red Panda named Retzko, and she is what's her job? Like a salary woman or
She's an
what?
accountant, I
An
believe.
accountant. Yeah, so she's just working this annoying office job, and she interacts with all the frustrating people you might experience working that kind of job, and she doesn't like it, and she tries to find ways to, get her frustrations out through singing heavy metal at a karaoke bar. So it's just about someone trying to get through life with even through the frustrations, like working at this job, trying to fall in love with somebody because she's always being reminded, you're this age, you should be with someone, you should, be in a relationship. So she's going through that as well, and yeah, and it's a short, so it's pretty good. I've only seen the first season though. So Mason, do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, it just started off as very much a haha, cute red panda does death metal to disguise her office lady demeanor, but it really gets into, as Caroline mentioned, so much more of her social life, dating life, work life balance, just how she lives on a day-to-day basis. And it's a very much a look into what it means to be an adult now in the modern day in Japan, with dealing with all the people you like and don't like on an everyday basis. And it's pretty good. Though hearing Mitz talk about Only Yesterday reminded me very much of Millennium Actress, which is a phenomenal Satoshi Kon movie, obviously following a similar lady, kind of doing a retrospective of her life, but coming from the perspective of a much older film actress, looking over her roles and kind of her development as a person over the years, and that is also an absolute must-watch. Probably my favorite Kong movie of all, and it's just freaking good. You should watch all of these shows. And yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, this is like an all-star list of shit here on this fucking outline.
It's almost like things that properly portray things tend to be good.
It's almost like if you went to AAApodcast.com/join and got the show notes, then you would have access to this whole list.
With links on Mason and my side.
Yeah. I'm drinking coffee at least. I mean, that counts for something, right?
Let's keep on chugging along.
Performing Arts, Your Lie in April. One of the most depressing shows I've ever seen. Also features arguably my favorite piece of classical music, which is Chopin's Ballad No. 1 at the end. I refuse to believe that like a 14-year-old boy can play Chopin Ballad No. 1, but it is a stunning display of performing arts all through that show, but especially at the end when he's playing that ballad, because that ballad, I often describe certain pieces of music as a literal fight for your life. Some of these like Chopin and Franz Liszt pieces are finger breakable, like fights for your life. Like there are some pieces like Mozart said would make you sweat playing them. And this is one of those pieces, and it's so beautiful and so touching, and so is the anime. Your Lie in April is a fucking gem, but a lot of it is because the music in it is classical music, and it's some of the best classical music, and it's so phenomenal. I made that one quick because we don't have that much time.
All right, so my recommendation for Best of Performing Arts would be Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju. Take a drink if you're playing the AAA drinking game, which we just talk about the same shows over and over again. But this show definitely deserves to be part of this category, partially because it is a performing art that most of us Western anime watchers are not familiar with Rakugo. They kind of show you the stories that they tell, and they get into they show you all these families that have these certain names and how they pass them down. So we get into that. We also get into like different performing styles. Like one Rakugo performer can be really different from another Rakugo performer. Obviously, if we're not all that knowledgeable about Rakugo, and they don't really take you by the hand and pull you through what these intricacies of this performance is, but it does have really great performance scenes, and you really enjoy the characters too. So I obviously recommend that, and we talked about that enough in the past, so I don't need to go on about it. Mason.
Yeah, at multiple times making this list, I thought about putting a show from Kyoto Animation in this category because they are just masters of their crafts of capturing life so well. And for this one, I had to go with Sound Euphonium for Best Performing Arts. Yes, there's a lot of drama and relationship stuff that goes into that show, don't get me wrong, but the whole ensemble of people trying to get into the club, making the cut, and the actual performances at the end, especially in the movies that kind of follow it, are all stunning, phenomenal, and just make you feel like you're there with them doing their performances, fighting for your right to play on the stage, and it's just really good. Check it out. Kono Oto Tomare was kind of my second place one of the Oto Club, but that one just doesn't hit the same highs, so that was my pick. What's next?
Relationships. I waffled back and forth on this one. I picked Paradise Kiss. Been a while since I've seen this anime, but there are some real adult relationships in this anime, and then this is not like a fantasy show. It's not silly. It's pretty much about life, and a girl becomes like a fashion designer, and she definitely gets involved in relationships, and it's just a very adult show, and realistically portrays relationships in a way that most anime do not. So I feel like most relationships should be easily entered into and difficultly ended, is how reality really is. And generally speaking, anime is more like relationships are impossible to get into and then they end on a whim. And I just don't feel like that's how real life is. And I feel like this show does a better job of portraying all of that.
What I have down for relationships is Horimiya, because that is my favorite romance anime. I've made it quite clear. But I do think it has it should have a good presence on this list because it actually has a relationship that is not the end of the anime. Like, they get into this relationship, I can't remember where specifically, but by like pretty decently before the first half ends, they are in a solid relationship. And I just love the two main characters so much. They're my OTP. I just think they're just so cute together. And, they kind of talk more about, different things in a relationship with, well, like what they want, like sexually, which is pretty, something
Refreshing.
that it doesn't get really talked about in anime, especially when it involves high school students. And overall, it's just a fun show, so I highly recommend it, obviously. Mason.
Yeah, so it's almost like Ayazawa knows how to write a relationship, because the same person who did Paradise Kiss also did my selection, which is Nana, which is just really, really freaking good. It's long, and unfortunately, it's unfinished, but hey, it's displays kind of the messy chaos of that romance can be. It's never picturesque and easy and following the rules. It's messy, it's noisy, it's chaotic. Everyone's kind of to blame. Someone's always like, it's just messy and it's beautiful, and that's what makes it so good. Obviously not my favorite romance in anime. It's not like a My Love Story or something where you're like, oh, they're so cute together and I love it and I want them to be together forever. It's more adult, and I think that's a little more realistic in some ways. So Nana is my vote, and it's just a fantastic show as well.
Next up is science. It's got to be Ohio Sekai, Good Morning World, which is also Caroline's pick. Caroline, why do you think Dr. Stone has such good science in it?
I mean, I feel like it's the obvious choice because they get into so many different types of science in trying to survive this new world they find themselves in. And they start from the beginning with kind of simple stuff somewhat, and then they get into more complicated things, but at least in the first season they make it kind of digestible, like, wow, I could feasibly make my own bomb kind of thing. So yeah, it's a pretty good one.
Have you been watching the newest season of Dr. Stone?
I haven't watched the other, was it a movie or special or something like that? I haven't watched that either. I need to get back into it.
It's so funny because in world history, you would find that wheat production actually domesticated humans. And I think wheat was more or less one of, if not the first major crop that really allowed humanity's civilization to explode. And what are they doing in Dr. Stone Season 3? Farming. What are they growing? Wheat. It's so fucking funny. Both Dr. Stone and Vinland Saga are having a farming arc. It's just fucking hilarious.
And
anyway,
soon us.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. Mason, what do you got?
Yeah, obviously Dr. Stone is the most objective one. If you want to learn about science, you go to that show. It tells you how the science works to do the things. No debate. But to me, that really doesn't represent how the process of science and discovering it determines it. He kind of already knows everything and just explains it to you. To me, and I'll argue this till I die, Steins Gate is probably one of my favorite representations of what it is like to actually do science, because you go into the lab, you're like, I'm trying to do A, you work at it, and it doesn't work, but you discover B while you're at it. You just discover something else. In the meantime, it's an accident, it's chaos, and you're like, well, I guess I learned something. And it's those accidents that kind of
whoops,
fuel...
the government is after me.
Whoops, I kind of killed everyone. It's kind of those accidental, I killed everyone.
Whoops, I broke the
science.
entire time-space continuum.
Exactly. It's kind of like the oops, all berries of the of the serial world. It just kind of happens, but you're like, hey, now we know. And I always love that part of it, and that's why I appreciate Steins Gate. It's good.
We're not going to get to all of these, but I mean, I think, well, I don't, let's just keep going, but I think we're pretty much out of time. The having a job, Hanasaku Iroha, bathhouse. Well, I guess it's more of a Japanese style inn, but also just a great anime.
True.
Having a job, Skullface bookseller Honda-san, take a drink, take a shot, because drinking game. Great show, short, funny, about a guy working in a bookstore in Japan. And if you worked in retail, you'll find this very relatable, but it's altogether very fun. Honorable mention to Urimichi Onisan. I watched a few episodes for this for impressions a while ago. More depressive, to be honest. Main character is very depressed, has a very negative outlook on life, and yet he has to get by being a children's TV show entertainer, which is not a good fit for him. But I think you should give it a try. It's pretty different, but yeah, I would say it was decent.
Having a job. And speaking of books, I went with The Great Passage. It's about a guy trying to complete his grand idea of a dictionary and filling out all the passages of those, explanations. And it's unique and it's touching. A lot of adult characters going through, the beginning of a job, the end of a job, and just how they get along. And that's really what jobs are. It's working with other people. And it expresses that pretty well. So check it out. Yeah.
College.
Speaking of drinking games and watching hentai, since Caroline mentioned it, on the hentai episode following the podcast today, Pancake and I hope Mason will finish the second half of Sailor and the Seven Balls, which Caroline is also welcome, and it's more of a comedy than it is anything else. But if you would like to watch Sailor and the Seven Balls and hear us talk about it, AAApodcast.com/join, baby. You know you want them hentai episodes. You know you want this hentai episode.
Come to the speed round.
Oh yeah, I'm just I'm shilling. Obviously, it's a speed round.
Speed shilling.
Yeah, and we're also going to be watching, what is it, Inukai-san's dog or something?
Can't wait.
There's going to be a drinking game live on the main podcast for Inukai-san's dog, which Caroline will participate in, and as will Pancake for moral support in the near future. College is the next category. Honey and Clover.
Enough said. We talked about it last week. What do you got?
I put down to Tommy Galaxy. It's a little bit stranger, not exactly about college, but I think people can relate to the college experience in that, you have so many hopes and dreams for the perfect collegiate life, but then you might be disappointed to know that, it's not exactly all rosy as you might think.
It's not all boob walls.
Yeah. And yeah, I think overall, it's a show that talks about a lot of things, but I think people in college can relate.
I feel like everyone kind of has a different college experience. So I had 3 answers. You could be just a nerd who holds up with your small group of friends and you just vibe with them for 4 years, in which case it's Genshiken. You could be an absolute party animal, getting wasted every day and living your best life, and then it'd be Grand Blue. Or you could be normal and it'd be Honey and Clover. So there you go. Depending on what college experience you want, will be the show for you. And it looks like there's one more category.
Why are cat girls so great? I put that on there.
Yeah, what anime showcases the superiority of cat girls?
I have no idea. I put Cat Planet Cuties.
It was your idea!
I've never even seen Cat Planet.
Idea?
Jeez. You don't have to be so judgmental, Caroline. I see. I've never even seen Cat Planet Cuties. It just looks dumb.
It's based around cat girls. Why wouldn't it be the best pick?
I think Caroline has the real best choice.
I actually put down an actual answer for this silly category. Put down reincarnated as a sword because Fran is best girl.
Speaking of Fran, what seed is Fran going to get in the waifu war? You know she's going to be in there.
Oh, I don't know. She doesn't really scream waifu. She screams, best girl,
11.
She's 11?
She's an 11 seed.
11
if you're
seed.
doing a
Yeah,
bunch of 16s, is how you're doing it?
It's believable.
So I don't know if we can... I feel like it's kind of hard to... she doesn't scream waifu to me. She screams Dadaru.
I'm going to say 6 seed because of recency. What was your pick, Mason, for this last one?
My pick was originally going to be Neko Para because that show is full of cat girls, but I remember that show sucks. So I went with Tsukuyomi Moon Phase, which is also not a great show, but it proves that no one would watch that show if not for cat girls, which is why cat girls are great, because it actually made that show watchable. So there you go.
All right, that's the end. Thank you very much, everyone. So let's get into the in-show weekly trivia question. In Tomo-chan, Sally Amaki, who is bilingual, voices the same character in English and Japanese. Which character does she voice? Now we'll get into the news break and we'll bring you the answer right after that.
Hey, Anime Addicts, Mitsuki is here to bring you your anime news break. Getting us started off with a new light novel being made into an anime in 2024, Tensei Kizoku Tante Skill de Nariagaru, or as a reincarnated aristocrat, I use my appraisal skill to rise in the world. Another isekai aristocrat anime directed by Takao Kato of Pandora Hearts from Studio Mother. Mirai began creating this fantasy light novel back in October of 2019, and it's got quite a lot of copies in print. The 11th volume is set to release on May 9th, which has already happened, of course. It's about an ordinary salaryman who dies one day and is reborn as a noble. Although he isn't talented in magic or sword play, he does have one skill that no one else possesses, appraisal, and he will use that skill to determine people's strength, how much potential they hold, and where their talents rest, etc. Blah blah blah. So, if you're a fan of isekai and just can't get enough, look out for another aristocrat reincarnation anime coming out next year. Next up in the news, pivoting a little, Gundam apparently is doing just fine. The Mobile Suit Gundam Witch from Mercury is being credited with the revitalization of the Gundam franchise. Bandai Namco Holdings announced that in the 2023 fiscal year, the sales of Gundam merchandise for the franchise were almost $1 billion, $967 million for the 2023 fiscal year, compared to $947 in the previous year. So that's about a $220 million increase. You call it about 30%, which is pretty fantastic. I will note that the Witch from Mercury anime didn't come out at the beginning of the 2023 fiscal year, as that anime came out, not really all that long ago in the beginning of October, so maybe not able to credit all of the success of Gundam to the Witch of Mercury, but certainly the Gundam franchise is doing just fine. Next up, in some other news, very interesting, Kyoto Animation, the arsonist case, which we heard about years ago, after the studio in Kyoto was burned down by an arsonist. The Asahi Shimbun newspaper reports that the main trial for this murder case is going to begin on September 5th. Of course, you'll recall 36 people were killed, 33 others were wounded. They plan on having a verdict January 25th, 2024. The trial is going to have 32 total hearings in September and October, and they're going to have hearings 2 to 3 times a week until they're finished with it. So we will get some conclusion to this crime that happened to Kyoto Animation, and I'm sure we'll be following up on that later. Next up, Toonami is still clipping along here late at night for those of you that can manage to stay up until 2:30 in the morning. I don't know who that would be exactly. It's not me. But the full lineup for June 3rd now includes Dr. Stone, New World. The lineup includes Unicorn, Eternal Warriors, Dr. Stone, New World, Food Wars, One Piece, Naruto Shippuden, and My Hero Academia, spanning from midnight until 2:30 a.m. Eastern. So if you're a big fan of anime and you've been clipping along with your Toonami, it's getting a little bit of a boost because a new sheriff's in town, Dr. Stone, New World, here to entertain you in the 12:30 time slot. This is Mitsuki, and this was your anime news break, and now time to get back to the podcast. As we listen to the Dragon Ball superhero theme, you have to ask yourself, have you ever wanted to be a superhero? Well, I'll tell you how you can do it. The next time you go to Amazon to buy anything, go to supporttheaddicts.com first, scroll down, click our Amazon affiliates link, and you are going to be getting the podcast a sweet royalty because anything you buy on Amazon after clicking that link gets the podcast just that, a significant royalty from Amazon. You'll be helping out the show without having to spend any money yourself. It's just one extra step. You go to supporttheaddicts.com, click the link, and again, anything you buy on Amazon after clicking it will get the podcast a royalty, a new car, school supplies, office supplies, things for your house, video games, whatever it is, it'll get the podcast that sweet royalty. So remember, be a superhero. The next time you go to Amazon to shop, don't forget to stop at www.supporttheaddicts.com. Caroline's grooving.
Yeah.
She's grooving.
Chill groove. Vibe.
In Tomo-chan, Sally Amaki, who is bilingual, voices the same character in English and Japanese, which is pretty cool. Which character does she voice? The answer is Carol Olston. And if you knew that, you're a nerd.
I had no idea. I had no idea that she was both. Well, that she was, is fluent in actual English, but is also both voice actors. So that's pretty cool.
I guess it means that you're just not nerdy enough, Caroline.
Maybe not. Maybe not enough to hack Mal and to change everything to Lane.
Pancake is napping now because she's mentally preparing herself for Piccolo in Sailor and the Seven Balls. So, yeah, but for now, it's time for Unexplored Pictures with Mason.
Get your popcorn ready. It's time for Unexplored Pictures with Mason.
Welcome back to another episode of Mason Talks About Old or Obscure or whatever kind of movies he wants to talk about, because who knows what you're going to get. This episode, we're going retro with the fantastic movie Aim for the Ace. This tells the story of Hiromi Oka, a high school student who wants to become a professional tennis player. And this series is one of the best-selling shoujo manga series of all time. It's incredibly influential, and it earned itself a 51-episode anime run during the 70s and 80s. This movie is a retelling of the first season with new animation, and it came out in 1979. And because it's kind of a compilation film in a way, it feels like you're playing a video game where you're skipping a bit of the cutscenes and dialogue because things happen quicker than you would expect. It's like you can see the skeleton of where more fleshed out story beats would be and be like, oh, this would probably take 5 episodes, but it only takes 2 scenes because they have a whole series to cover. So despite going so quickly, it succeeds because, if you've seen shoujo series before, you kind of know the blanks and tropes, so you kind of can just fill in between, and it works really well. And I would imagine that the main show is better for the actual story, but the movie is such a great viewing experience because the visuals are fantastic. It made it an absolute treat to watch. It has all these dramatic flourishes, this weighty, choreography, and just these scenic nightscapes, which contain all the signature 1970s looseness with shoujo anatomy. You got those big sparkly eyes, those long masculine legs, and some of the guy characters. It's great. It's great because it's done by legendary director Osamu Dezaki. He'd done shows like Ashita no Joe, Go-Go 13, Space Adventure Cobra, Blackjack, Dare Brother. Just a very stupendously artful, creative, and tasteful movie that just is awesome. A lot of times Mitz complains We get all these, female sports shows that really aren't about girls doing the sport. It's about the drama, it's about the romance, it's about not the sport. And that's not the case with this movie. You got these girls out here doing these grueling training that usually ends up with them like vomiting or just eating dirt because they're just grinding to the teeth. It's all about tennis. And yeah, it does adhere to the shoujo tropes, but they're so tightly revolving around the sport of tennis that it feels natural. And sure, this movie is not a masterpiece, but it's pretty damn enjoyable, and I loved it visually and was pretty endeared to it despite the kind of rapid storytelling method. So maybe I'll check out the series. I don't know, but if you like the retro just vibe of things, Aim for the Ace is a pretty neat movie, and I would recommend it.
This screenshot definitely looks like one of the dramatic screenshots from
It definitely does like those moments of like a sudden reveal and it plays a pa-chang sound effect and everything gets like hyper detailed in like a freeze frame kind of thing. It has those moments, but it's also, it uses some cool parallaxing. The tennis ball is never like circular. It's always getting hit so hard. It's like stretching and squeezing. It just has a lot of emotion to it, and it's pretty rad. So I don't know. I liked it.
I like training till you vomit. Done that a couple times.
Oh, yeah. We don't recommend that here at the AA podcast. We do not condone working out until you're sick.
I condone it.
It's it's definitely, it's kind of girly sometimes, sure, but it definitely has the Mitts vibe of her like training with like a heavy racket or running like with like carrying a tire behind her.
Trash your body.
It's awesome. It's just a rad movie, and sure, it's a little dated, but it's part of the charm. So
I think you would only throw up training if it's hot outside. That's my experience. Is that Florida heat will get you. All right, now it's time for mailbags.
True. It's time for an almighty anime mailbag. Anime.
Mailbag. My mom on the Twitch pushing the supporttheaddicts.com Amazon affiliates. Yeah, come on. Even a mom can do it. You guys can do it. Anyway, if you want to leave a mailbag, aaapodcast.com/mailbag. That's where you do it. Simple as that. Udosu writes, Rosu, I don't know, whatever. However you want to say it, thank you for your mailbag. Hello, addicts. Thank you for supplementing my anime addiction and feeding the fire. Listening to you guys at work every week, I have one question for you. What OVA, OAV, whatever, one shot, etc., do you definitely think should have gotten more of a full season, or if not more than a full season? Lots of them from the 80s and 90s that I really liked. Thanks again for the anime banter you subject me to. I look forward to more. Boy, I agree. I love Riding Bean. I love it. I could watch 100 episodes of Riding Bean. And I don't frankly see why I couldn't have 100 episodes. I mean, it's not that different than like City Hunter, except it's way better. It's not even close, actually. Other shows like Gunsmith Cats, which is related to Riding Bean, that only got a 3-episode OVA. That could have had more. That anime has a lot of style and just fun to it that really warranted more content, really. And I already mentioned Iria once this episode, but Iria is another one of those shows. It's a 6-episode OVA that comes from an era. Let me just double check before I say it. Yeah, comes from an era of anime that I don't feel like gets discussed very often, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like you hear a lot about the late 90s because of Bebop and all this, and you hear a lot about modern stuff. You hear a lot about the late 80s, but you rarely hear about like 1990 through 1994. Like, there's just like, I feel like we never discuss it. Like, anime just don't pop up from that era. But Iria is a 6-episode OVA from that time period, and I don't think it's for everybody, but I would love to have more Iria because I think it's really fucking cool. Like space themes, cyberpunky sort of, grunge, whatever the fuck the term is. Really could use more Iria.
I couldn't put down an answer because I have not seen enough as you guys. I mean, I liked what I saw from Gunsmith Cat, so I guess I'll just bite off that answer from Mitsuki.
Man, Mitt still needs to watch Bebop High School. I'm going to bother him every time I can until he watches that.
I forgot what that was called. I was trying to think of it.
Is that Cowboy Bebop, but in shitty form? Or they
no, it's It's 1990s, so it came out right in that sweet spot he's talking about. It's a 7-episode OVA. It's not my answer to this question, by the way. It's just the most Mitch show ever, and he needs to watch it. I still don't think it's streaming anywhere legally, but hey.
Yeah, I mean, that makes it hard.
It's good. No. So I find this question tricky because sometimes these like one-shots or really short OVAs are so good because of their brevity. You got shows like Gosenzo-sama Banzai, Detroit Metal City, Baja Studio, Bao the Visitor. They're all great because they're short, but if they were extended, they would kind of lose their uniqueness or luster and kind of just become boring or bland. So you got to find one that needs the extra time, but it's like, I don't know. You know what I mean? So for a more recent one, Girl from the Other Side got 2 short like OVA adaptations, but it needs a full one. I think just the art style is deserving, the story is unique, it could use a full adaptation. As for something more retro style, there's a series called Twilight Q, which only came out 2 episodes. They were wanting to do more, but it got shelved. It's like a weird, Twilight Zone, cerebral, weird sci-fi, mysteries of the unknown kind of thing. And I could definitely watch a bunch more episodes of that. That was kind of rad. So Twilight Q is my answer for you. But thanks for the mailbag.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Are you ready?
No, I don't think so.
This is the main event.
Put your gloves on, people. Put them on. It's time.
I guess we're doing it for a review of Tomo-chan is a Girl. This was originally failed by me on episode 664. I wasn't vibing with the show, but the listeners brought it back. Speaking of which, you can still vote for the listeners for spring 2023 and make the shows like this a possible. And let's see how this review goes to see if that was a good idea or not. This is a winter 2023 show. You can watch it on Crunchyroll. It's done by Studio Les Douce, who did Omegas in Your Savage Season
really
and Classroom Crisis. It's just such a fun name to say.
I think it's fucking fantastic.
It's like
It is based on a
I might do that in the next hour.
Is well beloved by fans, was clamoring for an adaptation, and they finally got one. And it tells the story of Tomo, who has a crush on her childhood friend, Junichiro. But because they've been friends for so long, he really kind of only sees her as one of the guys due to her violence and mannerisms. So with the help of her friends, Tomo tries to get her true feelings through to him, but things don't quite go that smoothly, and it's a rom-com of sorts. So, who wants to give their initial expectations first? I'm looking, I'm deciding, I'm picking my prey. We're going to go with Mitsugi.
I'm going to read it just as I wrote it on the document. I said, and I quote myself, lame-ass rom-com revolving around overly stupid characters which are required to push forward a story that could only exist in a sea of anime tropes, non-realities, coincidences, and misunderstandings. That's what I wrote
So
as
an
my
anime romance.
That was my expectation. I'm not saying that's what it was. I'm just saying that's what I thought it would be.
We will find out how close he was. Caroline, initial expectations of Tomo-chan.
I will also be going, quote unquote, what I wrote on the doc here, run-of-the-mill high school rom-com where all characters are exceedingly dense.
Wow, that's pretty much what I put.
Yeah.
It's almost like we've seen these before. Yeah, watching a couple episodes back when I failed it, it was kind of both better and worse than I was expecting. It wasn't as cringe, as you could say, as I expected given the premise. But the first few episodes were full of just very unengaging comedy for me, cruddy production value, and just lazy slapstick resolutions. So I was not looking forward to returning to the show, but people seemed to indicate it got better in the second half, so I had a little bit of hope. That said, Mitsugi, spoiler-free, would you recommend this show?
I have already recommended this anime. The show is stupid at times, and there are infuriating instances where the premise would fall apart if only the characters weren't excessively stupid or cowardly. But it is a solid rom-com that does have some payoff. I think the characters are pretty good. Tomo, June, Carol, I think her name is Misuzu. They're all good characters. They're interesting. They have diverse thoughts. They give you some introspection into their thoughts and feelings. Some of their emotions are pretty complex, which makes them interesting characters. Tomo, Well, I have never once been a person that shied away from offending people, and so here we go. Needs to unravel the very complex riddle of, and I say this very sarcastically, why am I not seen as a girl? Why am I mistaken as a man? Well, maybe if you tried behaving like a girl, then you might instantly rectify this, because most women, even in 2023, want feminine women, and, when you're punching people in the balls and acting like a fucking hooligan and wearing your hair like a guy and just acting like a fucking Yankee, of course you're not going to be seen as a woman because you're not acting like one. You're acting like a violent hooligan. So there's my thoughts on her. And June needs to stop being such a bitch because, and honestly, it needs to be way less stupid because there's a moment in this anime where where he expects to see Tomo in pants in like middle school or whatever. These people are like way too tall for middle school. And surprise, surprise, she's not wearing pants and she's wearing a skirt. And he's like, oh, like in that moment, his mind was just like exploded because he thought she was a girl for the first 10 years of their friendship. And I am here to tell you that when I was a kid, I had a friend named Jessica who was a friend of mine for most of my life until I left for college. And was very much a tomboy and was right there with us to catch frogs, climb trees, light shit on fire, whatever we wanted to do in West Virginia. And I knew instantly, from the first moment I met her, that she was a girl. So I would just say that the whole premise of the anime is fucking just dipshit stupid because there is absolutely no fucking chance in human history that anybody who spent more than 5 minutes with another person was unable to tell if it was a boy or a girl. I'm sorry. I don't even want to hear the arguments. They're just going to sound ridiculous because you wouldn't even have to go to the beach or the pool or have an accident or, or go to the girls' restroom in a fucking restaurant or any of these other things that make it blatantly obvious. You would just know. So, just give me a break. The animation is pretty mid. The story was basic. I don't know. We'll talk about more about it later, but like some of these anime.
But you recommended it.
Yeah.
I do. I'm not saying I hate it. I'm just saying that like there are just some things in anime that drive me insane. And this whole show's premise is based upon an impossibility, which I know it's like, oh, it's anime, but yeah, it is, but it's also, basically just a realistic story.
I've come across some people in life that have been fairly androgynous.
So let me just say,
I'm not saying it happens all the time, but like sometimes I'll see somebody and I'm like, oh.
If I spend every waking minute of my life, in this anime, they literally spend every moment together. They're like attached at the hip. So I'm not
saying in this situation, he probably could have found out very easily, boy or girl.
If you're meeting somebody for 10 minutes, like that's one thing, but like that's not what we're talking about here. This is, an anime where June has to be the dumbest human that ever lived, ever, to fuck this up that badly. And frankly, I don't know. You guys go ahead. We'll talk more later.
Okay, so I would recommend it. I don't care what Mason says. I really liked the humor. I laughed
Mason
so
said
hard
nothing. You going after Mason? He didn't say anything.
No, and in the impressions, like in his expectations, he talked about what he saw in the first few episodes, and he thought the humor was not decent. I thought it was very good. I really enjoyed the characters. I found Tomo and June's friendship to be very fun, and I like them together. And I thought the opening and the ending songs were just so cute and catchy. I know you guys, I think Mitz mentioned like not great animation, or was it Mason? I don't know.
We both did.
To be honest, I did not. Yeah, you guys both did. To be honest, I didn't really notice it, and I didn't care, even if it, even if I did notice it, like even if I look back at it, I found it fairly well looking for what it was. So you guys need to lay off. Mason.
Yeah, I think we're all going to agree and disagree on different things. So right off the bat, first and foremost, especially in the first half of the show, it is a comedy show before it is a romance or a drama, which means recommendations are difficult because comedy, I think, is the most subjective of all the genres. What people consider funny can range. personally,
Agree.
I found the comedy in the first half very juvenile, very loud, very repetitive, and there was very little that didn't annoy me. And the show leans so hard into its cast of having these wacky characters. Like every moment Carol was on screen was just irritating to me. And these characters are just so absurd that there wasn't any room left for anything resembling a grounded or compelling drama until the show kind of shifts gears in the second half, at which point you get a more typical romance. I do like June and Tomo together. I think they do make a nice couple. I think that the opening and ending songs were not great. I think the visuals were atrocious, and we'll get to that.
I agree.
I think Mitz missed the point about acting like a girl the whole, and we'll get to that later, but I think there is some value there. I think one could argue that, he did initially just think that she was a boy when they first met, and just, while stupid, yes, operated under that assumption for far too long. It wasn't the end of the world. These characters are all kind of silly. I get it. This show, and I get that every show doesn't need to be deep, but it just had a baseline of decent writing that wasn't there, and I just needed some more engaging character interactions. I would not recommend Tomo-chan Was a Girl. Wish it would have stayed failed. I get what people see in it. It just wasn't for me. So with that all said, I think we have a lot to talk about. So let's get to spoiler-free recommendation, or blah, blah, blah. Actual spoilers. Now you've been warned. We'll play the drop and we'll dive deep into Tomo-chan Is a Girl.
Spoilers are coming. Oh my god!
Here
Man,
we are. We made
There's
it.
a lot to talk about. I feel like we have to start with the characters because that's kind of the core of everything. It's where the comedy comes from. It's where the plot comes from. And I think how you vibe with the characters will determine how you vibe with the show. I found them quite flat and unbelievable. Just because you have a second aspect to you doesn't mean you're realistic. It just still makes you 2D. There was just full of junk scenes of comedy stemming from these things. Am I supposed to find it funny or endearing when Misuzu puts tape on all the face of other characters? Or when this husband passes out when his wife says hi to him? Or this mom patrols outside the house, outside the gate, and she's like, oh, I don't remember if I know how to get to my own home.
Yeah,
Like,
those were not great moments.
That's
I
the
will agree.
embarrassingly cartoonish part that just made me
that was
disassociate.
stupid. But I laughed so hard when Misuzu and Carol were like making fun of June, and he just took their hairpieces and put them on top of the classroom
I'm
sign.
glad you mentioned that because that
That's
was one
funny.
of the few moments where I thought was phenomenal. That was so good. And there are some things it does do well. When characters speak to one another about their feelings and it doesn't become a misunderstanding across multiple things. Yeah, when the small character moment when, like you said, they're looking at the rankings of how they did on the test and Misuzu and Carol are like giving June shade and he just, like, that was realistic. It was humorous. It wasn't a, look at, that's the gag thing. Now's the time to laugh. It was just subtle. The flashback I thought was solid. Like, there are some nice moments. But for the most part, I was just rolling my eyes most of the time. I don't know. What do you guys think about the characters? Who are your favorites? Who did you bounce off with? What thoughts?
Sometimes they could be a little too much. Like Tomo's yelling was just like sometimes it was fine, but it got to the point where I'm just like, stop yelling! Just talk like a normal person and stop flying off the handle. Like I realize that's her character. It's just it got to be too much. But like I get it. She's like this. You don't need to make it the entirety of the show. Other than that, she was fine. I liked her. Carol could be a little much as well with her ditziness. But
I don't even know why Carol
kneeling on the desk, her like popping up out of lockers. It was just so much.
I don't even understand her
sometimes-
Is she comic relief in this? I mean, I don't. She didn't seem like she had much of a. She didn't have much of a purpose.
Idiot relief, I guess.
Except she's the smartest,
I mean,
smartest
sometimes
in the whole
she
school.
had moments where I liked her just because she was just so strange. Sometimes it worked. I'm trying to think. I can't. I had a moment in my head and I
She
couldn't
was
remember
there
it.
to be the foil to Misuzu, and I get that in concept. You need the cute, bubbly one, but you don't need someone who's just like, I'm like pudding, and have this really weird relationship with Misaki that just
Yeah.
was like they tried to make it a thing, and I think the show tried to make a couple relationships a thing with like Gundo and just that dude, Tanabe. Like they tried to push a couple of them together, and while they did do Tomo and June well, I thought that was a good mix. All the other relationships kind of just were like, why are we wasting time on this? I don't know.
The problem with I think arguably the worst character in the show is June. I mean, he's just.
I wanted to like him because I did like his thing of very early on. It's revealed that he knows that Tomo is a girl. He's realized this. He just hasn't accepted it for what she means to him as a symbol, for what she means as a friend, and he's just like, if I ignore it, she's not a girl still.
I'm just not convinced of that because there was a scene in about episode 9 where he talks about how in middle school he expected to see her in pants and she wasn't in pants.
Yeah, that was when he figured it out.
Yeah, that was like 12 years after they met.
Yeah, but like that was still a flashback. So like since episode 2, it's been well established that he knows that she's a girl.
Well,
It was
sure.
more like 6 years after they met. It was not that long. That
For most of the show, we know that June
childhood in middle
knows.
school.
June
Susan
knows, but
Yeah.
but the premise of the show, listen, this is a fine show. I mean, we'll get to the good things, but the premise of the show is weak at best. I mean, you're really going to have to stretch here and like, just make irrational leaps to even stay in this argument.
I mean,
6 years, 6 months, 6 days, it doesn't really fucking matter because he's going to know she's a girl immediately.
okay,
I
sure.
don't know what planet
Even if
you
he-
live on where you think that a guy doesn't know that a girl's a girl after a year of spending time together. What
The thing
planet is
it
this?
doesn't matter. He does know she's a girl, but still
Not
is
until
a
middle
two-
school.
Okay, sure, but the show takes place after all that.
Well, I know, I understand that, but like that premise is stupid. And then the fact that
So
she can't.
superpower show shouldn't be a thing because it's a silly premise. Like I'm willing to accept that for the first couple years he knows her, he thought she was a guy. That is maybe too much for you to handle. I'm creative enough to let it slide.
And also, I don't understand how. Like, fine, he finally figures out she's a girl, which already makes him like undateable. I mean, he's like an invalid if he can't figure that out after like 9 years. But he finally figures out in middle school. My God, you guys are gonna maybe like jump through a ceiling here. Honestly, like the first scene of them meeting is like Tomo, 4 years old, jumping on like a seesaw or like the ledge by their house, and then when he finally figures it out, she's like 6'2". I mean, a lot of time passed.
Okay, what is your driving point here?
My
That
point
it's
is-
just too unreasonable of a setup for you to take it
It's
seriously?
extremely unreasonable. And then when he finally finds out that she's a girl, 2 things happen that make this show very painful. One is he's too much of a fucking coward to act like a man and do right by her, who obviously he knows that she likes him and did for most of the show, and then he just drags her around like a fucking wounded animal for the whole anime, so that's shitty. And also, she can't figure out how to like be more feminine around him. Well, like, I don't know, fucking try a little.
Well,
like
you
try
that's not the point of the
try
show.
2%.
Clothes.
Try 2%.
The
I
whole
want you
point-
to spend a 1 week acting like a girl.
I can act like a girl better than Tomo, that's for sure. I was more of a
Well, I
girl
mean,
with
it's
I was
also
more of a girl than
completely
Tomo
against her
dressing up like
nature.
Sailor Mars and I was bald.
Okay, but she's trying to like intrinsically, like down to the last detail, try to change her personality, which
You don't even have to do that. How about
well,
like
she kind of does if she wants to date him, or she believes that's what she has to do.
there's a number of times in this anime where Misuzu literally says this exact thing that I'm saying. I mean, you could start with
Misuzu's also kind of crazy. So.
Well,
she's
okay,
the only
so
person
that's-
in the show that knows anything about relationships. I can tell you that right now.
She's wrong. That's the whole point. The whole point of the show is you need to be more feminine. You need to wear this. You need to act like this. You need to change who you are fundamentally to be with the person you love. And it turns out that's not the case at all. You need to find the person that accepts you. And only when she accepts that she is Tomo and Junichiro accepts that she is Tomo, masculine or feminine, that's the key to success.
I just
Her
I
bending
just
her way to be more feminine is the whole point. It feels
You're just
toxic
wrong.
and wrong.
You're just
No,
wrong, honestly.
No.
You are
Becoming
wrong.
More feminine wasn't the answer.
You are wrong because the times in the show where June finally realizes his feelings are the times when Tomo looks like a girl. It's the beach episode. It's the festival episode where they basically go on a date at the festival. It's not when she's crotch punching him and acting like a fucking psycho.
No, so
But
the
that's
problem
also
is,
where that's
it's not
the
when she's
basis
being
of
feminine.
their friendship. Like, she enjoys that rivalry with, or like they both enjoy that rivalry with each other. Like, you see them really care about each other when she acts like herself.
Putting everything
Like, so
aside,
he might be sexually aroused when he sees big breasts in his face, like a lot of guys do. But when it comes down to it, the whole premise of their relationship and why they like each other is their friendship when they're not trying to be something else.
the problem is the way their progress goes is not because Tomo acts more feminine and he's like, oh, she's a girl, I've changed my mind. It's Tomo acts more feminine and then she gets hit on by creepy guys at the beach, by the high school gang, in the streets, the high school gang again, at the festival. It's when she acts feminine, guys go to approach her, and then June is like, defends her, and then Tomo's like, oh, he protected me. Like, it's weird how so much of this progress comes from creepy dudes needing June to get involved. That's where it comes from, and that's what I'm not a huge fan of.
yeah,
One
I
thing
think
that did annoy me quite a bit was when, like, Tomo would be wanting attention from June. And in the process, June gives her that attention. But then she's like, "Ooh, what?" and gets all blushy and runs away. And I'm like, this is what you wanted. This is what you're trying to get. I always hate that stuff, but that's kind of just an anime thing.
I just honestly, like, I just don't agree. I mean, King CJR somewhat agrees with Mason about how hard she's trying, but in my opinion, I don't think she tried where the fuck. Honestly, the first thing you would do, this is Japan. I live there. I've seen girls putting makeup on for 3 straight hours on a train, and I'm not saying she needs to put on 3 hours of makeup, but how about let's like not cut my hair pixie cut and spike it like I'm trying after like, I don't even like you just don't look feminine. Like, there is nothing about her that even looks like a girl because she's put forth no effort.
That's
how about
not
like
a
dude?
problem.
I don't know. I feel like her boobs are.
I have no idea. Look, I can't get into an argument about this like at this level because I'm gonna literally throw my coffee pot. But if I have to sit here and hear, if I have to hear an argument about how men don't want women who look feminine, I'm just gonna like shut down because it's just so asinine and stupid. I can't even
simultaneously arguing that she's feminine. How could you not
She's
tell?
not.
And she's not doing enough
That's the
to
whole
be
point.
There are
feminine.
multiple moments where she does look very feminine.
You just
in this
argued
show.
it's impossible not to know she's feminine.
Well, that's because even if you were the most masculine woman in the world, I would still know you're a woman. And when you're a little
So
kid,
it sounds like she doesn't need to do more effort.
well, for the
And
gotta
at
pick
that
a
point,
side.
he does realize that she's a woman. She's just trying to ignore it so that he can act normal around her. Like, you see him trying to go into his little zone, like his zen.
I'm doing my neck stretches.
I mean,
so that he can act, so he can just ignore the fact that she's to him a very attractive person.
all I can say is that she's very lucky that he actually loves her for who she is, because most relationships require people to look and behave a certain way. You're not, through all of human history, men are not going for the women that act like men. That is not reality, and if you think it is, then you're not living in reality. All I'm saying is that in this anime, the whole show, she comments about how she doesn't seem like he treats her as a woman. He doesn't see her as a woman. That's the name of the show. But she doesn't do anything to actually try to squash that mindset of his. There's no...
That's what the whole show is, him trying. And you just don't think she tries enough. And that's
she doesn't.
fair.
She didn't try at all. Not a bit.
I think she objectively tried every episode through the urging of her friend. And it turns out, I
Very
think
little
we should
effort.
just be aiming for relationships where you're accepted for kind of who you naturally want to be, and not having to play this whole song and dance toxic. You know, I want to be what every man thinks I should be and fit the box of generic woman. Like, I think that's the message that the show is going for.
And I'm not saying that, but if you feel like a guy doesn't see you as a girl, the first thing you would do is try to change that. because she's very concerned about it the whole time. It's the name of the damn anime. So I'm just saying. And the funny thing is, I'm going to give this show a better score than either of you. I 100% promise. And you're going to be like, what? And I'm going to be like, yeah, because I'm just pointing out the things in the show that are stupid. Now, June is the real problem because the whole fucking show, he knows that she likes him and he likes her, but he's too much of a fucking pussy to do something.
I don't disagree.
I never really quite understood his motivations for keeping, because he knows that she likes him, he likes her.
He's a pussy.
And
some guys would not ask Tomo out because she's not feminine enough, and they're just not interested in her because of how she looks and behaves. And let's face it, no one thinks that women punching guys in the face every 5 minutes is attractive, because it isn't. I would be 100% unattracted by that.
Domestic violence, but yeah.
Yeah, well, domestic violence is definitely the most attractive thing I've ever seen. But that is not the case in this show. He already likes her. He just fucks around with her feelings for the whole show because he's a little bitch. That's basically that's the bottom line, honestly. And that's how most men in rom-coms are. They're all little fucking bitches. Otherwise, they'd be dating after episode 3, and then you would have what you should have once in a while in a rom-com, which is the drama of actually being in a relationship, because there's plenty of that. Actually, more. It would be so refreshing once in a while to have the relationship happen like by episode 3, and then all the things that complicate relationships once you're in them can occur, but that just never seems to happen in these anime, because all these rom-coms give you is the like dice roll of what are the odds they actually like hold hands or kiss throughout the entirety of the anime, and that's the only reason why people watch these shows. 100%. If I knew that a character was never going to hook up with the other character, there would be no reason to watch it. You're only in it because you want to see if it happens. That's all there is.
The hunt is more exciting than the daily life. The same way we talked about earlier, where just shows about a mom and her kid don't get made because it's just kind of the standard typical thing. This anime is made for people, I'm going to make wild assumptions, who normally aren't in relationships, so they want to see how to get in a relationship. And yes, I agree with you, Miss. If we got the show about a relationship, that'd be great. That's why those relationship shows are some of my favorites. This is what I expect, is you get this back and forth, and it's drawn out, and it's weird, and you get shots of Misuzu, who wants to be a good character, being like, yeah, I'm just going to push this guy down the stairs. That's going to go well. That's the thing I would recommend.
Yeah,
like,
let's kill somebody.
There's just a lot of dumb moments. The worst probably scene was when they dress up Tomo for her birthday, and they're like, oh, go out and get ice cream. And she goes to the store, all dressed up, dolled up. She runs into June. She like has this whole like heart to heart about like June, like, oh, I really like this girl, but I don't know, blah blah blah. And she talks and she's like, oh, he doesn't know he's me the whole time. Then her ice cream melts. She goes back to the store, ridiculous. Has to re-get ice cream, goes back to the house, and in all that time they still didn't finish decorating. That's unbelievable. They sent her to get ice cream and couldn't decorate in the time it took her to go on a whole odyssey.
And then they didn't know what she'd be like. They just were under the assumption she was getting ice cream.
Yeah,
but like, if she was gonna have this whole conversation with June,
they had so much time
to
decorate the house. How dumb would you be? How slow are they at decorating?
That said, I just said everything I think is bad about this show. I honestly think everything else is good. I like it so much, I almost rewatched it.
Wow.
Now it might have been the Slazer beam that was doing that.
Maybe.
But
it's magical.
And I
don't know what that is.
Some really strong marijuana, very strong. It's getting crazier and crazier every day here. Anyway, but
okay.
But yeah, I mean, I watched this anime in 2 nights, and the ending is so fucking good that I almost just started over again from episode 1, because
I don't think the last episode was all that great.
Oh, it was great. So like now it did oscillate pretty hard. Finally, June is such a terrible character. Finally, he decides to do right by her, and that's when she should have punched him in the fucking jaw, because, I mean, honestly, it's amazing that, like, she actually still gives him a shot after he ignores her for a year, and then she finds out that he knew all along that she liked him, and he liked her too, but he just didn't do anything. It's so aggravating, but then, like, then they actually look like they're going to be a couple. And then they do this dumb bullshit about how, like, I gotta fight your dad in karate, which is so unnecessary. And I thought we were gonna get the relationship, and now this bullshit is gonna make it so that we don't get it this season. I'm gonna have to wait till like season 5.
Well, they didn't pick that.
It's not as if
that was her dad.
Yeah, but it's like there was no like indication that her dad would not be trustful of June, considering he's known him for years. He is trustful disciple. He knows this kid, and there has been no indication that he doesn't like this kid, and no indication that he doesn't trust his daughter to go out with anyone that doesn't know how to fight this gigantic man. And all the while I'm thinking, Tomo, who the fuck cares? Go out with him.
Who cares exactly? Not only that, the dad was such a pussy too. Like he was probably scared of the mom. Like he would just do whatever the mom said. And
well, I think that's the point. Well, as stupid as it is, don't get me wrong, it's absolutely idiotic. The whole point is they finally cleared this hurdle that they've been working through for 12 episodes and really, in a sense, 12 years. And they're finally committed to each other. And then, like, at the last stage, this last little final boss appears, and they're like, "What? No, why are you doing this?" And they, like, are frustrated and angry. Like, it makes you feel the same way they do as a viewer. That said, very unnecessary. The final confession, no doubt, was solid, cements them as a great couple
awesome.
together. And why you go through 12 episodes of being like, "Oh, we'll get together," it's because the fireworks at the end were great.
It was great.
No complaint there.
Yep. The dad definitely threw that fight, by the way. He didn't actually lose. His fingers never touched
I didn't see it touch.
No, they didn't. Definitely not. I even rewound it a couple times to check. Nah. He wanted to give it up, and I think the mother had kind of had her fingers into him at that point, because I think she had entered the room during that fight, and he knew that like he was going to get his ass kicked.
My argument here is the big reason June doesn't acknowledge his feelings for Tomo sooner is because Tomo is a representation of strength and just what he aspires to be, and he doesn't feel like he's worthy. He doesn't feel like he's reached her point yet, and that's kind of what has held him back. And he's finally started to come around, and I honestly, if I'm being very charitable, I think the point is the dad did that and threw the fight to show June that he is worthy and is strong and is no longer has to see Tomo as this symbol and imaginary thing, but as Tomo the person, the human, the flesh and blood person that they want to be in a relationship for. And this really kind of helps have him cross the bridge of developing into the man that he thinks he's worthy of. So that's how I would argue it off. But
yeah, it just seems kind of weird. I thought they were going to take that away. I thought that last moment wasn't going to happen because, I mean, fuck, they did take it right to the wire. Honestly,
I mean, for a second, I thought we were gonna get a sex scene because of that
a sex scene
in
this anime.
Yeah, that was kind of a silly thing to think about. But
June,
I remember seeing you guys
it.
talking in the chat on Discord, and I was behind while you guys were watching it, or Mitsuki was watching it, and you're like, "Oh, there is a payoff," and I'm like thinking to myself, and you guys were talking a a lot that, and I'm thinking to myself,
I about shit my pants.
A normal payoff, or is this an extra payoff?
Man, yeah, you miss the epilogue where they go up to the bedroom and just go to town. We'll save that for us.
Visually, this anime was pretty awful.
It was not good.
It was so
flat.
It was
that bad.
It was so devoid of artistry. Like, even window heights and other background dimensions were inconsistent.
Does it really need that, though? I mean, it's just a rom-com.
No, it doesn't. But, man, it does not look good. I can count on the one hand the number of interesting shots. Tomo-chan throwing the water bullets, that looked kind of cool.
I don't even remember that.
The flashback of her father, like, monstrously coming to the defense of her mom, like Attack on Titan.
It was, like, she got angry.
Yeah, she just reached into the water. Just water.
Was that at the beach? Was that the beach episode?
Yeah, at the beach.
Yeah.
Which, let's be honest, the beach episodes had drastically improved animation to the rest of the show.
Jiggle
like
physics.
They knew what they had to promote. Yeah, exactly. There's a moment after they go on their first date, they go to the movie, the romantic movie, which I thought was great, where Tomo's like, "Oh, I'm going to show him a movie with a kiss, and then that will give him the idea to kiss me." Great. No problems there. And of course, it's a little more romantic, a little more hot and heavy than Tomo can handle. And I like the artistic concept of dinner afterwards. They're at the dinner table, and you see Tomo's hands, and they're shaking because she's like nervous and frazzled and all embarrassed. Ooh, and she's quivering. And June's is just steady as a rock. He's like, yeah, good movie. But if you actually look at his hands, they're so freaking alien and weird. And I'm not saying I can draw good hands, because no one can, but these things look freaking awful. And I get it. If you
The
freeze
hands?
frame an anime at times, they can look off. That happens. But if you make it a central focus of a shot that's not moving and make people look at the stupid looking hand, it looks so...
Wow.
It just looked bad across the board. A couple moments, okay, sure, fine. The kiss, the confession, spoilers, the kiss. Awesome. But
Chat
for the most
GPT
part,
can't draw hands
was
either.
awful. I'd hope not. There's just a lack of thought and mindset.
Yeah, I mean,
the opening wasn't doing it for me with the overdone
I
fist
love
bumps.
the opening
the weird-
sucked. I mean,
I
I,
thought it
The weird
cute.
chibi classmates. What were those? And at the very end,
Wow,
she like
yeah.
breaks and like falls into him. Sure. What is she breaking? There's wood splatters all over the place. She's not sitting on anything. The bench they show right after, that's perfectly fine. It just, there's not a lot of thought that goes into things in the show, and it bugs me.
I don't know. I guess I gave it a pass because I didn't think that it really needed it because it's just a rom-com. I don't know.
Sure.
All they do is
if
walk
that's
around
how
and
you
talk
do it,
the whole time.
If you vibe with the show, if it was a comedy, I get it. I understand why people like the show, why they adore it, and how fans
I'm
of
a
the
sucker
manga
for
are
chibi
thrilled they
comedies,
got
too.
an adaptation. But it just was kind of lazy in a lot of aspects for me. What
I-
did you think about the music, Caroline? You liked it.
I feel like Caroline's
mean-
more mad about the music than me talking all this shit.
I mean, I can't really remember like the OST. I'm really bad at remembering OSTs, to be
It was
honest.
kind of generic.
Yeah, like generic. But I don't, like, especially the ending song, I'm like, oh, this is cute, and just like bop your head around, and then they made the guys version. I'm like, well, this is just
I
adorable.
loved the guy's version. That
Yeah.
was such a nice touch. That was one of those character moments that I think the show needed the whole time. And the EDs were definitely better. The OP, though, with those ascending piano chords, with the katakana, the repeated tempo background over, like, it just was
I just like when they're just
lazy.
like, fist
Sure.
bumping, and it's
Under
just
the
like
title, that was fine. But then they kept on fist bumping the entire
because it's the
opening.
thing. And like, okay, it's not a work of art, I guess, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
and it
I
doesn't
think
need
it's
to
very
be. It's a rom-com.
The
fun.
best part of the opening was when he catches her heart beam and throws it into the ground, which is
Yes,
obviously Dragon Ball.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That was a cool shot.
That was
for
about
sure.
that was about the extent of it, though.
But
Yeah.
there was a couple highlights. I will not deny the show that. But for the most part, it was just junk volume. Just scene after scene of things that didn't hit any emotional resonance, any plot substance. It was just noise. It was just this. If this was like 6 episodes, maybe we're talking. But
Can we talk about Misuzu's regretfulness about her behavior? Because
yes,
I thought that like most of the characters in the show have something about them that makes them extremely flawed. Tomo might be the only. She's just a little dense. I don't know. She doesn't really have a lot
She's
of flaws.
a bit quick to fight someone. I mean,
Yeah, I mean she is that, but like Misuzu, what was like intentionally sabotaging them or felt like she was, and I figured it was because she had a thing for June and wanted to sabotage Tomo's
I
encroachment
didn't get
upon
that
June.
impression at all. It always seemed like she really did not like him.
Yeah, I don't know. I just I feel like there were a lot of complex emotions in this anime. June didn't want to be with Tomo because he didn't want to fuck up their friendship, and then he likes her but he's too scared, and then Tomo likes him but she's scared too, and she questions how she is as a person, and then Misuzu is like this like dark brooding type, and she does this or that for her own reasons, but ultimately she doesn't feel like she's being a good friend to Tomo. The only character in the show that didn't really seem to have a lot going on was Carol. I didn't really understand, other than just the fact that she's just like overly blonde and foreign and like was comic relief. I don't know why she was even really in the show, but
I mean, they gave her one episode where she showed any real emotion. I feel like they needed more of that. So
yeah, she was the comic relief, and they're like, oh shoot, she's too shallow. Let's give her one scene where her like mask breaks. And know how we get there? We have them being hit on by guys again, because that's the only way to make any progress. But yeah, it was kind of too little too late for Carol. And then Misuzu, I wanted to like with her depth and her scheming, and the whole point, I think she was genuinely trying to get Tomo and Jun together. She didn't like June, but she realized Tomo's her friend, one of her few friends, and was trying to get her to change to be the woman she wanted. And she realizes at the end that she was promoting about it the wrong way by trying to change Tomo in not the proper way. And she had this big like reveal where she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I've did all this stuff bad," but it was kind of lackluster. Like it didn't really have a satisfying ending.
I think really what she needed to do was talk to June and tell him to quit being such a bitch. I mean, because he was. It's almost
she did that a couple times, like not in those words and not as obvious, but she did kind of taunt him quite a bit.
I mean, like, if somebody confesses to you that they're in love with you, and you push them away, and then continue to be their friend after that, and force that person to be close to you when you know they're not going to be able to resist it because they're in love with you, and you just continue to ignore that, it's almost abuse. And someone should have stood up and did something about that. Honestly, it should have happened.
Well, let's not forget that June slapped Tomo's ass like 2 minutes into the show.
And at that point, like, he fully understood the
I was
whole,
like, you
I'm
either
a girl
know
and I like you
and
thing.
you're an idiot, or you don't know and you're a bigger idiot.
Yeah.
I just didn't really like any of the characters.
I feel like I had something else I wanted to say, but I just can't remember. Oh, I remember. Why is it that these school romance animes always have to go through the same motions? It's very...
Because that's what makes the money.
No, I don't think that's true. I think it's Masao Maruyama echoing in my ears saying, these people don't know how to write anything. They just like fuck me. I could write a rom-com anime about Japan. All you have to do is have the beach episode, the festival episode, the club episode, the fucking fireworks episode. They're all the same. Like, it's just amazing. It's almost like people who watch anime in Japan. And I'm not talking about Americans or whatever, or people outside of Japan, because this just doesn't apply to them. But it's like, we all know that Japanese life kind of sucks after school because the work life in Japan is just suffocating. But it's almost like they feel like if they don't like put this massive relatable bubble of nostalgia into the show, that people won't like it. And what people who listening to this podcast might not realize is that the school experience in Japan is eerily standardized. I mean, it is standardized to the point where the high school, the schools are identical, and the things they do in the schools are identical. So everybody has an identical experience during school, which makes it very easy to speak to everybody watching at the same time. But it's almost like they feel like, oh, if we don't hit these notes of nostalgia, people just won't like buy into the show or something. Like, there are other anime like Nana, Paradise Kiss. We just talked about some of them that don't do any of this shit. And they manage to have relationships, but it's like, oh, we have to waste 6 of our episodes on the same fucking god. I've seen 19 seasons of anime of just festival episodes, and I just don't understand it. It is the most uninteresting bullshit at this point that, like, people while listening to this anime think, oh, Miss is just like an old son of a bitch. Well, the reality is that I've probably seen 50 times as many anime as you, and probably 50 times as many festival episodes, but they're not interesting anymore. It's the same trite, tropey bullshit over and over again, and I just don't understand why these shows can't pry themselves away from it. I just don't get it.
Not that I agree with you on those points. Like, yeah, it's the same thing over and over again for the most part, but it's not just because they don't want to do anything creative, I don't think anyway. It's because with manga, like, you know how go the whole manga business is, and when you are crunched for time and you have to get things done and you're not able to think of more creative things, the best thing to do is to rely on tropes. And that's the truth for not just manga, like for
writing.
People who are trying to write any sort of media. Like, you rely on tropes just naturally when you don't have the time to think of anything else.
Well, I don't have anything else to say about this show. I don't know. Do you have a comment about that last statement, Mason? Or
No, I mean, just a reminder, this manga was made on a page-a-day format. So this thing was churned out over a long time. So its adaptation did a lot compared to where it came from. So give it credit. But I don't disagree. It's full of tropes.
It's just,
Why do you think I don't like it? Why do you think I'm not recommending it?
The funny thing is that like this anime's score for me, we're at kind of that point, is come 100% determine whether or not they get together or not. And I hate to tell people this, but they're probably not going to stay together because relationships that form when you're not a fully functioning adult don't usually stay together because you're just not going to be the same person when you're 25 as you are when you're 15. But if this anime doesn't have the kiss at the end, I'm giving it like a 1.5. And if it has a kiss at the end, if I get what I want, then the score just explodes. Honestly, that's the bottom line. I feel so much release from watching this anime simply because they kissed at the end. Because I have watched so many rom-coms where nothing happens, and it's just brutal to deal with over and over again. I just feel like I'm having the crap kicked out of me and wasting my time. And frankly, I don't have the time, honestly. So it's like, oh, I'm going to watch the whole fucking thing of Dress Up Darling just to be dicked around. Like, this anime is better than Dress Up Darling because there's a kiss in it. That's how I feel about it. I think I'm pretty much maybe I'm the only one that feels that way, but I just don't get much out of the masochism of not getting any reward for watching these romance shows. I wish they would just make out and have sex right away. For once. It's like, just do it. Just help Japan's birth rate. Set an example. Figure it out. You're in high school or whatever. Kids are definitely fucking in high school.
Let's not promote teenage pregnancy either.
Whatever.
Yeah, you only get sexy action in anime mitts when there's a dog involved, as you will soon find out.
Japan's population is dropping by 500,000 people a year. Oh, that's fact. And I really think that I wouldn't condone condone teen pregnancy, but like Japan probably would take it at this point. But I don't know. There's about 900 forms of birth control.
But that doesn't make any sense.
It also doesn't make sense that high schoolers are incapable of having relationships in anime because they are doing it in real life, for sure. So I don't get it.
That's anime. That's kind of how things go.
But they did it in this anime. It just required the most unbelievable, molar extracting dentist pools ever to get to that point.
Do you want to score it?
I'm not going first.
Okay, Caroline, would you like to go first, or would you like me to? So we end on a more positive note.
I'll go first. Generally, I liked this show. I know it didn't sound like it because we kind of criticized it more than we talked about how much we liked it, but I did like this show. I found it to be entertaining. I like the characters. Their friendship is fun. It's, certainly does have its cons, as we talked about in length. It's just because the pros are kind of hard to talk about because it does rely in how you enjoy your comedy and your characters, and it is a bit slice of life. So I would give this show 3.5 Carol lifting her headband off of Tomo's head to a very dramatic song and putting it on her own head out of 5.
It bothered me so much that when she did that, they made sure to show you that she turned it around, but they didn't show that when she took it off. Like when she took it off her head, she just put it right on Tomo's head, but it wasn't flipped. But she did flip it. They just didn't show the flip, but they showed the flip on the way back. But that was a scene for sure.
They had the budget for that, I guess.
They did. They only had budget to do it once.
So
you want to go, Mitz?
Yeah, I'm going to say a couple of things. First of all, I think it's hilarious that everything we say is being reported in the betting degeneracy on the Discord.
Oh, is it?
Because there's obviously bets on this anime, so they're like, the reviews are all over the place right now. It's just like, it's very contentious. And on that point, I do apologize for being such an asshole. I realize that I am an asshole, and I don't really mean to get so heated in these debates. And although I do think people love hearing me lose my shit, but I do apologize for being so hot.
Mitch, honestly, this would be so much less engaging if we weren't invested and passionate about it. So I argue with you, I know, but we do genuinely disagree. But I think we're coming from a right place and trying to get to the heart of it. So
okay,
it's all good.
I appreciate that you're very resilient. In understanding, Raggedy Doctor is in despair because he realized he's about to lose his bet. I was going to give this anime a 4 since before I started Buddy Daddies, which is also very excellent. Boy, I love me some Buddy Daddies.
People looked at me like I was
Oh,
crazy when I
it's
passed
so
that
good.
show.
It's so easy to
More
watch.
on that next week.
Yeah, holy shit. I was gonna give the show a 4 before I even got on this podcast because I feel so rewarded by the fact that I liked most of the characters in the show and I liked that they actually got together. And it was a very passionate final scene. The final few minutes of this anime were just such a release. It's almost like just like the pressure being just like when you've been holding it for like forever and you finally get to go to the bathroom and you just like it feels so good and then like finally it happened. And she was so passionate about it. She's like, your heart belongs to me and I'm going to make sure that you're the happiest person that ever lived and all this or whatever she said. And I was like, that was so fucking wonderful and I loved it so much. I'm going to give this anime a 4. I don't fucking know. 4 miles left in that marathon. They almost got there. I really love... People think I don't like romance. Romance is actually one of my favorite genres. We just rarely get a romance that has any kind of real romance in it in favor of just like stupid situational gags and comedy. So when we roll through like a Paradise Kiss or a Nana or a Hori Mia or a Kare Kano or one of these shows where stuff actually happens, you'll find that I give good scores because I like romance. I have almost not been single at any point in the last 15 years.
I've been eternally single.
Maybe that's like I don't know. Maybe that's just I don't know which came first, the cart before the horse or whatever. But I'm giving this a 4 out of 5 because I love that I was rewarded for sticking with it, and I didn't think the ride was that painful all the way through, and I really loved the fact that these two got together.
Okay.
You're getting pressure, Mason, from betting degeneracy. They're
I'm not looking at that channel.
Okay,
they
don't
know
look
I'm
at it.
pure.
They're speaking directly to you, but don't look at it.
Well, I'm speaking directly to them where I say this show had an overwhelming lack of thought or consideration put into just about every scene that made it bland at best and annoying at worst. There were a few highlights, but that doesn't indicate a quality show. And I get that they smooched at the end and that makes people feel good. I felt good at that scene too, but and a lot of people vibed with the show, and good for them. I think comedy, as I said earlier, is particularly subjective. I thought it failed for me. I thought most of the romances, I know that it's just one primary one, but all the other ones were just objective failures. And as June said in one of the episodes when he reflects on the years he spent incorrectly assuming that Tomo was actually a guy, he says, I can't even laugh at this. And that's kind of how I felt watching the show. So I'm going to give the show 1.5 kisses be damned out of 5.
Oh,
this was not
boy. I wonder how
good.
this sweeps up for betting degeneracy.
Somebody had set... So there's a... Shit cracks me up so much. But there is a person, I can't remember who it is. It might be Zoda Positive or whatever. I can't remember exactly. But there is a person on there that is like the odds maker. And they're literally on there trying to set the line for the over-under on what the score will be. And I saw that line earlier in the week. And they were very close. It's very excellent. They did a very good job. I think their guess was an average of a 2.83.
Yeah.
And we just gave it an average of a 3. So that is pretty sharp shit.
Oh.
You nailed it pretty much right on the line. Wow. Shit is in the Discord is so
ironic.
interesting. It's so interesting.
Yeah, it is. I find it just so ironic that the person who originally had this anime on their list gave it the worst score.
I mean, I failed it.
Yeah, you did fail it, but you're the one who put it on their list in the first place.
And I understand why you did, by the way.
On our list. What's that?
Well, I understand why Mason failed it, because the second half of this anime is by far the better half.
I would absolutely agree.
I don't
with
remember
Mitch
what
there.
you passed instead, but like,
I
it probably was better.
Buddy Daddies.
Oh, Buddy Daddy's so good.
And I passed Kind of the Great Snow Sea, which was
okay, kind of
had potential, but it kind of fell off.
I give you a pass on that because the first 3 episodes of that show were dope as fuck. I was so
a lot better than the first 3 episodes of Tomo. I will absolutely
agree.
Okay, so
Tomo
it's
got better in the second
understandable
half.
that you would fail this, but it was still put on your list, and you had somewhat of a good, like a decent, somewhat expectation.
Let me review the
for it.
tapes.
Here come the donations.
Behind the scenes. This is winter 2023. Where was Tomo on my? Tomo was actually higher rated than Buddy Daddies. I had Buddy Daddies as my number 6 pick. Tomo was my number 5, and that was purely because this was a very beloved manga that people had been clamoring and stunned that it was getting an adaptation. So I didn't know what we were gonna get. It's directed by the person who did Golden Kamui. So like, are we gonna get zany off the wall stuff? Is it gonna be ludicrous? Is it gonna be? I don't know. I was just interested. That's where it came from. But
Buddy Daddies is a great show, but they are definitely kidnapping the fucking. But what do they care? They're basically murderers anyway. So. Oh, you haven't started it? It's so cute.
No, I already said that I leave things to the last minute.
It's so much better than Spy Family.
We will discuss more on that next week.
Get excited for next week, everybody.
It's so much better. And by the way, Miri better than Anya for sure. Not even close.
But Anya
fuck
has
Anya.
Faces.
I said it.
Come on. Okay. Well, we will be sure to get into that in depth next week. I'm
ahead of you, Caroline.
Sans drinking game next week or no?
Oh.
Are we doing that?
I mean, we could.
I mean, I think we were talking about it.
They definitely want us to.
I definitely want to.
Oh shit, Caroline's like, I want to get drunk.
Next episode.
It should be fun. I have my cookie dough fireball.
Cookie dough fireball.
It's not fireball, but it's cookie dough whiskey.
Oh wow, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, ready. It's pretty good. Okay, well, with that being said, I say we bring the show to a close.
It was a long one.
So if you want to continue to support us, you can find us on Twitter at AAA Podcast. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Discord. Go to aadiscord.com, I think, right? And that's how you can, directly join us.
Yeah, and I just bought the domain waifuwar.net, which is a much better domain than what we had before.
You did that all during the show?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're a good multitasker. I can't do anything.
Oh. When you're on work meetings 7 hours a day, it's either multitask or fucking die. Mason knows the pain.
Luckily that's not a thing for me.
I feel so happy for you that that's true, because work meetings are bullshit.
And you can also find us on TikTok. So with that, look forward to our waifu war, and also look forward to the next episode with the review of Buddy Daddies and possibly the drinking game. We'll see.
Ooh, Inukai-san's dog, uncensored. Woot.
So have a happy Mother's Day, and we hope you have a great one.
Bye, moms.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, you nerds.
Let's all love Lane.
Lane is the GOAT.
Lane is probably overrated.
You should go watch it.
I already watched it. I don't remember any of it. I already told you.